The Visitor. In the small, dying town of Black Hollow, the nights stretched long and quiet. The fog came down early, thick as wool, swallowing the crooked streetlights and crumbling buildings. On nights like these, people stayed inside. They locked their doors, drew their curtains, and waited for dawn. At the edge of town, an old train station stood abandoned, its iron tracks rusted, broken, forgotten. Yet one night in mid-October, a sound pierced the silence. A whistle, long, mournful. The air shivered as it echoed through Black Hollow, stirring something restless, uneasy. Clara, the night clerk at the general store, was the first to see him. A tall man, dressed in a black suit, outdated, unnatural, stepped out of the mist. His skin was pale, almost grey. His deep-set eyes, dark as coal, seemed to drink in the light. He moved with deliberate grace, each step precise, as if the world itself bent to his will. "Good evening," he said, his voice soft, yet somehow echoing. "I require provisions." Clara swallowed hard. She didn't ask where he'd come from, didn't dare. His presence was wrong, like a smudge on a familiar painting. She handed him a loaf of bread, a bottle of milk. Her hands trembled. The man smiled, but the smile never reached his eyes. "Thank you," he murmured. "Payment will come, in time." And then he was gone, melted into the fog, as if he'd never been there at all. By morning, the whispers began. A little girl, no older than 7, was found at the edge of the woods, her face frozen in a scream. She was alive, but silent, catatonic, her tiny hands clutching something, a coin, black as night, cold as ice, marked with a symbol no one recognized. The man in the suit returned. The diner, the hardware store, the church. Each time he asked for something small, a cup of coffee, a candle, a pack of matches. Each time he left without paying, leaving only silence behind. Then the children began to disappear, one by one, vanishing from their beds. No trace left behind, but open windows, and faint black smudges on their pillows. Panic gripped Black Hollow. They searched the woods, the empty train station. They found nothing. Then, one night, the whistle. This time, the whole town heard it. They gathered at the station, clutching flashlights, clutching each other. The fog was suffocating, thick as breath. And then they felt it, a cold wind, carrying the scent of decay. The train appeared, black, gleaming, its engine hissing like a living thing. At the last car, the man in the suit stood waiting, his coal-black eyes sweeping over the crowd. "I told you," he said. "Payment would come in time." Behind him, in the dim light of the train car, the missing children sat, silent, pale, still. The townsfolk watched, rooted in place, paralyzed by fear. The train began to move, wheels clanging against rusted tracks, sparks flying. The children did not cry out, did not move. The train vanished into the fog, taking with it the last hope of Black Hollow. And from that night forward, no children were ever born in Black Hollow again. The fog grew thicker, the nights stretched longer, the silence deeper, and every October, the whistle sounds once more, a reminder that the visitor always collects his due.